Hi! This time I'm going to share my thoughts on Crispy's actual play. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to put the link in the description below. I'm also going to tag Alberto because I think that some things that I will mention could improve his roleplay. That is yet to be seen because it could be related to something that I failed to see during our actual play. So in a few moments I will explain what I mean. When it comes to criticism in actual plays, this is in order to improve the actual play itself, that is, future actual plays. When it comes to martial arts, by using a martial arts analogy, it would be like someone applying a headlock. You have your opponent on a headlock, but you have your hand over the head of the opponent. And suddenly someone approaches you and tells you, you know, your hand is incorrectly placed. You shouldn't place it on top of the head of the opponent. You should place it on your shoulder, because otherwise the opponent is going to, if he is strong enough and agile enough and fast enough, he can reach over and with strong fingers he can actually crush your fingers and break the hold. Now, someone that is intelligent and who has control over their ego will identify this as being true. You can even attempt it, right? In martial arts practice, you can attempt it and you see the results. But someone that is too, yes, drowned in his own ego, he's going to say, no, that's not true, you don't know anything, etc., etc. And when the confrontation actually happens in a real, perhaps a real self-defense situation, and you are trying to protect yourself from a criminal or anyone else, and then the criminal reaches out and breaks your fingers. Reaches around and breaks your fingers. And that wouldn't have happened if you placed your hand over here, in your shoulder. It's a lot more difficult to get a hold of your hand over there. So yes, when it comes to criticism, it's in order to improve. It's used in order to improve the subject, the technique, the process, the procedure, etc. So in this actual play, I'm going to provide some criticism in order for Crispy to improve his sessions and actually achieve immersion. Those of you that haven't seen Crispy in my Dark and Terrible campaign, you can see that he is actually a role player. But in this session, you're going to think otherwise. If you are a critical thinker, you're going to think otherwise. I also think that it's terrible when people watch that actual play and immediately go into this sort of like a simp mode. Oh, great game, amazing, oh, amazing session, oh, perfect session. And you can see so many flaws. You are actually hurting the person, because that person is going to fall into the erroneous notion, that is, it damages the gameplay, the roleplay rather. The person falls into this notion that he or she is doing the correct thing and will never achieve immersion. Those that are saying, oh, great session, great game, and the session is pretty bad, in most of the cases you are displaying your total ignorance of roleplay. Putting that to the side, this is why I am going to express some criticisms in order for Crispy to improve his role-playing sessions, to achieve roleplay and to fall into that immersion, the immersive state. Let's move on to what I mentioned about Alberto. In the actual play, Crispy's players are always, I want my character to do, I'm gonna draw out, I'm gonna hide behind the counter, You're not going to do anything. You don't want to do anything. You just do it. In present, in the now. I roll under the table and pull out my gun. You see? I jump behind the counter and take cover. That's how you get immersion going, and you can see it. Take a look at the faces of the players during the session. Take a look at the faces of my players during the Dark and Terrible campaign and the Super Smash Bros. Campaign. They are always engaged. They are not like this, like they are about to fall asleep. Just take a look. The guy in the lower right corner with the glasses, sometimes he's like... And Crispy's like... They are spraying you with bullets, and who knows what he says, this battle scene, and the guy. I'm gonna take a look at my enemy to see if I can identify. That's not something you would see in a real fight. Take a look at the actual plays, the Dark and Terrible campaign, the Super Smash Bros. Campaign, always engaged, so exciting. The players are reaching, are trying to figure out what to do, and they're always in roleplay. In the case of Alberto, I think that there could be an error in roleplay in the Super Smash Bros. Campaign. I think I missed this because Alberto is constantly talking in character. That's very important. He talks in character with Tyler's character, Johnny. So sometimes he tells Johnny, I'm gonna do this and that. Johnny, I'm going to attack, I'm going to create this, I'm going to distract the enemy, that's perfect. If you are talking to a character, you are telling the character what your plans are, right? I'm going to do, and it's a perfect example of how you don't need to step out of character to carry out those battle plans. It's more realistic in a real fight situation. You're not going to pause things, and in this case, it is actually a video game, so that came to a sort of funny moment when Tyler pressed pause, so to speak, but in a real confrontation, you cannot pause the action. So you're communicating your battle plans to your party members, to your comrades, to your fellows, as you are carrying out the fight in a very an intense, action-packed scene. That's perfect, but I was thinking, and Alberto, think about if you actually did this. Was there a moment when you actually say, I'm going to... If that is so, if you said I'm going to without communicating with Johnny, that's an error. You should say, I throw a Hadouken. I project an energy beam. I jump up. You see, in the present, I'm doing this. I am attempting this. I am doing this or that. I am carrying out this. I am attacking with this. I am always in the I. And if you want to play in third person, unless it's a horror game, if you want to play in third person, my character attempts to do this. My character does that. My character, you see, present, not I'm going to. Because otherwise, if I had spotted that, I would have said something like, you were going to do that, but your opponent was quicker. Or in the case of someone that said, I wanna, you wanted to do that, but your opponent was faster and attacked you. So until the person gets the hint that you don't want, you are not going to, you're not gonna, you do it in the present, in the now. When you are, I want to, you are having a conversation with the game master. No roleplay whatsoever. I'm going to, then your character is, what is he doing? He's talking to no one and he is hesitating. Well, it's very different. I'm going to clap compared to, because when you, I clap my hands. If you were to clap in a role-playing session, I clap my hands, right? You're not saying, I'm going to clap my hands, because you're not doing it. It's not I'm gonna, you do it. The other criticism, this is, sometimes it's very difficult or not as easy to perceive when the players are talking in character, rather, talking as their characters. Yes, that's the correct way of saying it. Sometimes you cannot tell when they are talking as their characters and when they are describing their actions, because it sounds exactly the same. It's very different if you... I approach the bartender and I say, what are you doing here? When compared to, I approach the bartender and say, what are you doing here? You don't even need to make like an exaggerated voice, just make the clear distinction. And if you don't want to act, depending on the contract on the session 0, if you don't want to act, I approach the bartender and ask him what he is doing there or doing here. As simple as that. And in the session, there are many moments where the voices are not different enough and the descriptions are not distinguished enough, clear enough to tell the difference. Another thing, there were a lot of moments where there was a conversation between the game master and the players. Especially when it comes to battle, Crispy, don't, well, that's my advice, right? You can do whatever you like, but don't, whenever the player scores something, don't say, excellent, perfect. The game master is not a cheerleader within the game. The game master does not exist in the game world. Imagine in the Dark and Terrible campaign, if every time you scored something, excellent, well done, amazing. No? The game master, the referee, the dungeon master is not a cheerleader. No. And the players shouldn't have a conversation with the game master. It could be, it's the fault of the game master and the player in this situation. The player in the lower left, there is a moment when Crispy says, make a check. It's much better to say, make a knowledge computer check, make a perception check, whatever, to clear things out, right? But if the game master handles things a bit ambiguously, you, as a player, you have every right to make the check however you want to make it, because the game master didn't specify it. So don't ask, what do I need to roll? The game master didn't specify. It's all up to you. That's why in the Super Smash Bros. Campaign, I kept saying, make a bash check, make a move roll. Roll either wisdom wise, roll either wise, or move. That's perfect. O sea, well, you're already telling the player what the check is going to be about. So there is no confusion. And it is within the rules. That is necessary to carry out the actions. It doesn't break immersion because you are already in the mindset that that is necessary. It is the mark of the role player to remove what is unnecessary. I have mentioned this in another video. Just like when you are sculpting something, a statuette, you want to sculpt a statuette, you remove that which is not essential. You take away from the block of clay or stone or whatever, you take away that which is unessential so that the true figure, the form, the shape is revealed. Now, when it comes to that app, I don't know if it's, what's the name of that Savage Worlds app? Oh, completely immersion breaking. You had these images that you weren't exactly sure what images were related to which character, and because the players were so out of it, the players looked so out of it during the entire session, there is nothing characteristic, nothing that distinguishes each player character from the other. Take a look at the Dark and Terrible campaign. Take a look at Esben, how charismatic he is, wielding his sword, flirting with the women, that intonation, if you are going to use the voices, that intonation, look at Killian, very mysterious and quite with this dire attitude to him. My friend, I feel as if there is some sort of omen about to occur, and you immediately have that character sticks to your head and stays there. I cannot remember a single memorable thing about any of the player characters in that session, in Crispy's session. Not a single thing. I'm gonna. Definitely, in my opinion, that's just me. Get rid of that app. If you're going to be using some sort of app or program, like I said, the images did more to pull you out of the session than getting you into it, especially because of the windows, the frames of the windows and all. You need to be a complete expert, an absolute master of the program, of the app, in order to make it work. And even so, yes, well, you could see that Crispy was out of practice with the app as well. More reason that you shouldn't use it if you're out of practice. There were many moments that he was like, oh, let's see here, and you're falling asleep while he's looking for something. It's the same thing when you are using miniatures in a clumsy way. I love using miniatures in tabletop RPGs. I disagree that you cannot roleplay if you have miniatures. If you are roleplaying and you accept miniatures as a necessity for very tactical, very precise games, you can move them while roleplaying. But there are cases where the game master clumsily, okay, I'm gonna bring out my battle map. I'm going to, oh no, it's the other way around. I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to set up the tiles. Yes, I'm going to, miniatures. Let me get them out. The right miniature, it's over here. No, unless you do this, the miniatures are set. Unless you have that mastery of miniature placement and battle mats. Sometimes you don't even need the battle mats. If you're going to be using the miniatures, just use them to give you a general sense of the positioning. That's why you should have the map or the grid or the tiles prepared beforehand and only use them when necessary. And you don't need to use them all the time, only in very specific combat situations. But yes, that clumsy placement of miniatures and battle mats and whatnot is the same thing when you are fumbling with the app, with the program, whatever. You don't need it. Unless your players are constantly cheating and you don't want to play with cheaters, you don't need to use those fancy apps, those dice rolling programs, apps, etc. The battle map, like I said, unless you're a master at using it, don't use it. Perhaps one of these days, when it is absolutely necessary to do so, with one of those highly tactical, highly strategic role-playing games, then, and with a better computer, because my computer is pretty inferior, it's going to get a heart attack. It's going to get at the very least a hiccup attack if I were to use maps in my sessions. But when I get a better computer and I decide to play a tabletop RPG with maps, I'm going to show you how to use battle maps in tabletop RPGs, in online gaming. But yes, the session was not good in my opinion. Crispy points out in his title that it is a pretty trash session. I am improving or something like that. If it's a trash session, I wouldn't upload it at all. You mentioned in the description of your video, Crispy, that you did that so that others wouldn't say that you are all talk. But now people can say that you are all talk because they can say, look, Crispy is all talk. He breaks immersion constantly. He has out of character conversations with his players. They can point out all of those flaws. His players are constantly saying, I wanna, I'm gonna. They looks like they are falling asleep. There is no distinction to each of the player characters in his session. The context is lost when the game master has this conversation with the players, and when he's constantly cheering like a cheerleader. Oh, perfect, you scored, yay! And that's a subject for another video. The game master doesn't need to celebrate anything. If there are non-player characters and it is within their personality to celebrate the actions of the player characters, for example, that waitress in the session, maybe she's in that sort of, her personality is someone that cheers others on despite the consequences. Maybe you could tell, like, the waitress stands up and says, that was amazing! But don't do it out of character. And these are just my thoughts. Crispy, these are just some tools to improve your roleplay. This is not like an attack, because there are people that are very immature that think that criticism is some sort of attack when it is well placed. That is, imagine a moron entering and telling you, Crispy, you weren't doing out of character questions, that's not how you roleplay. The immersion is achieved by going out of character and doing stupid stuff. That's not valid criticism. But when it comes to constructive criticism, this is in order to improve the sessions. Yes. And Alberto, if you're still watching this video, definitely check that out. If you were sometimes saying, I'm going to do instead of doing it. I attack with my energy ball. I climb up the wall. I crawl under the desk. That's the correct way. Or my character crawls under the desk. My character climbs up the wall. Although remember, Alberto, that we are going to run that horror one-shot. If possible, next Tuesday, I'm going to open up the Discord channel with the information. We can figure out the time, the day, etc. In that session, we are going to be using first person all the time. It's all about I. I do this, I do that, etc. So I hope this video was informative and entertaining. If you really want to see how Crispy roleplays, check out the potential finale of the Dark and Terrible campaign today. I will be uploading that video around perhaps 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, perhaps. So definitely check it out. It's going to be... Wow, I cannot even fathom or predict what Crispy and Josh are going to be doing because they have been so unpredictable. Let's see what happens. Thank you for watching my videos as always. Thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. And remember, it is better to roleplay and fail in character than not to roleplay and fail as a player. Once again, thank you. And see you later.